And since history is the best guide to predicting the future, at the end of this video, we'll explore what the future of computing might look like. As this video will focus on computational power, simply listing each computer's processing capabilities might get you lost in the scale and number of zeros, especially considering today's AI data centers. So instead of just a string of zeros, we're going to use Lego bricks and equate one operation, instruction, or calculation per second to a single 2x4 Lego brick. For example, when using Lego bricks to show the computational power of the ENIAC from 1945, its processing power of 5,000 addition computations a second builds a moderately sized cube of 5,000 Lego bricks. Whereas the SNES from 1991, with its almost 1.8 million instructions a second, creates a Lego cube that fills most of a room. And then, jumping to 2007, the first iPhone's 800 million operations a second builds a cube of Lego bricks the height of a two-story building. And the current graphics cards with their teraflops of calculations forms a Lego cube that gets ridiculously large. But we're not there yet. So let's go back to the beginning of this timeline and dive into the first age of computers, which spans from 1945 to 1962 and is named transistorization. Here are the 5 example computers that we'll use and explore in further detail. We'll start with the ENIAC built in 1945. It's important to note that there were a number of room-sized computers that were built before it, such as the electromechanical computer used to crack the Enigma code, but we won't explore them as they're special-purpose computers. What made the ENIAC notable is that it was the first programmable general-purpose computer. The ENIAC was built 2 years before transistors were invented, and therefore it functioned using 17,000 vacuum tubes, making it rather large and incredibly heavy. The next example computer is the UNIVAC 1, which was built 6 years later and still used vacuum tubes. So the question is, 4 years after the invention of the transistor, why is this computer still full of thousands of vacuum tubes? Well, the issue was that the early designs for transistors were very unreliable, sensitive to voltage spikes, and prone to random breaking. Vacuum tubes, on the other hand, had been invented almost 50 years earlier, were considerably more reliable, and if one broke, then the inside would become foggy or the glass would be visibly cracked, making it easily identifiable. In contrast, broken transistors were a lot harder to find, and when you have a computer with almost 20,000 vacuum tubes, switching them to unreliable, highly sensitive transistors that, when broken, were a headache to find, was not ideal. Therefore, during the age of transistorization, the key technological advancements were focused on building reliable transistors. To do this, scientists and engineers first switched from using germanium to silicon-based transistors. And second, the physical design evolved from point contact transistors into individually packaged junction transistors. By the end of the 50s, the RCA 501, NEAC 2203, and the IBM 7000 series, such as the 7090, were some of the first publicly available commercial computers to use transistors, and were advertised as transistorized computers. Throughout the next few years, transistors evolved from relatively delicate-looking structures to more reliable flat planar transistors. Then, in 1959, the MOSFET was invented, which is a family of different types of transistors. Next, in 1963, the CMOS circuit, which is built from 2 different types of MOSFETs, was invented, and by the mid-1980s, it became the fundamental type and arrangement of transistors used in every computer, even to this day. While the design of the transistor was, and still is, being evolved, we decided to have the first age of computers end in 1962, with the last computer to use vacuum tubes. It's important to briefly note that while we're focusing on the computers and processing power, computer memory has also had its own evolutionary timeline. Early methods for storing data included rather interesting techniques, such as using sound waves